All right, cool. This is Jay Tarantino, guitarist of Etherius and Angel Vivaldi, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
This is Steve Dorssom, drummer for Images of Eden, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather. And as always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews. Today is an honor and privilege to have Mr. Gordon Tittsworth. He is the vocalist and rhythm guitarist, and Steve Dorssom, drummer of Image of Eden. They are ready to release their fourth studio album called Soulrise, August 17th via Pavement Entertainment. And we're going to be talking to these gentlemen about this new album and what it stands for and what they're doing to try to help people out. So, guys, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Doing awesome. Doing really good. Glad to have you on the show, fellas.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. It's been a great day.
Well, we talked about this just a little bit before we started doing the interview about the song called Shield Me. I told you how much of an impact it's meant on me and what I'm going through, but if you don't care again, what led you down this path to write a song, seeing, this through the eyes of someone who may be struggling or who may be wanting to go down that path and they don't need to, guys? Let's talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Gordon. Well, I can tell you this. Everything that we write, Images of Eden, comes completely from the heart. It's not something we think about. It's just inspiration that comes out. Obviously, the best way to create and to be inspired is to really draw from your deepest emotions and things that you've lived. And when we were starting to work on the video for Shield Me, it was it just sort of kind of came to me, as far as fighting addiction. Fighting addiction is something that I've had to do for a good chunk of my life. I almost died back in 1997 due to addiction. Was a full-blown detox in a hospital bed. Walked out of that hospital bed in a hospital room and never looked back. That being said, fast forward many years, when we were actually going down this road, the actual video was loosely inspired by our keyboard player, Dean Harris, his niece. He lost his niece at age 19 to heroin. And I had actually connected with her mom, which is his sister. And, we've kind of been in touch, over the course of the last several years. So when it came time to actually do the video and the story, which is basically called the B-roll, just kind of hit me as sort of a loose story. So what I did, I just kind of wrote out exactly what I was seeing. I didn't know anything about production. All I knew is Steve was an actor, a director, and a producer, and all that good stuff. So I figured, well, let me just kind of explain what I'm seeing. And so, it was really inspired by Dean's niece. So that, it combined with my own experience, we wanted to kind of share the dangers and just everything that we face as, as alcoholics or addicts or whatever you want to call us. Gave the storyline to Steve, and we tweaked it from there. He said, okay, let's fix this, let's change this a little bit. And what we want to do was mainly do a shout out to the people that we've lost. We have all sort of been there in some sort of way. Whether we have personally suffered addiction or whether we have lost loved ones. In my case, it's both. But once we went down that path, it just seemed like it was a no-brainer. Everything fell into place when it came to filming, when it came to the storyline, the whole 9 yards. So it was meant to be a very powerful statement. But more than anything, I think it was to reach people who need it. Because when I was going through my situation, I didn't have anybody. I was alone. Anytime I tried to talk to somebody, all I would get would be just judgment and finger pointing. So what that meant was I had to hide it. And the more I hid it, the worse I became at hiding it, because the worse I became. So when it got down to a point of filming this, we want to put it out there that, look, we're not cops. We're not parents. We're not teachers or authority figures. We're musicians. We're people who understand you. We're people who have been there. So if we can get this to people and have them understand that and realize that they're not alone, to talk to somebody, to reach out, and
And yeah, that's exactly right. And with that, once we had that story all put into place, that really relatable, real today's problem story put into place, we went to work and we went into pre-production. So now we knew the visual had to be real. It had to be relatable. We had to touch the people out there in order to get this point across, which is really, it benefits us not at all. I mean, this is not about us or any member of this band at this point, putting this kind of message out to help someone. We've all been touched by this issue, like Gordon said, every single person in this band, some more than others, but we've all been touched by it. So it was really important for us to put the visual out, and that was casting the fantastic actors that we had in this video that really understood the story and really backed it up and really put their hearts into their performances, which really showed on the video, as you can see. And then, of course, beyond that, we brought in our Hollywood production team that everybody just pulled together on this whole thing, and we really made a great video, in my opinion. So hope it helps a lot of people out there and puts a message of either preventative or post or current help anybody may need.
I'll also add to that, too, going back to the story a little bit, a couple things we tackle. Some are more obvious, some are more subtle. Obviously, the main thing we're tackling is the struggle with addiction and that dark figure kind of chasing you. But at the same time, there was sort of a side point that was made. You could see friction between the mom and the daughter. So there was definitely a situation or an issue in the house. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help matters any. Now, with that being said, one more thing. I mean, we're not a preachy band at all. We just explain and we write from the heart. But the one thing that kind of got me through all of this very clearly was faith. So if you notice at the end how faith sort of overturned everything, mm-hmm. It fixed it. That's how it's been for me. And, like I say, I'm not preaching. I'm just explaining the story as how I know it. And just kind of hope it makes an impact.
Mm-hmm. Clearly, before we started this song has totally brought me to my knees of what I'm going through, like I explained to you guys. And I lost my cousin because of the stupid drugs over the years. I mean, 40 years old. When's enough is enough? When do you say, okay, I'm done with this? I just don't get it. How can you? It breaks me, guys. It really does.
I understand. Completely. Coming from a big metropolitan city, this problem is a daily thing out here. It doesn't go away, man.
No.
It's sickening. It really is. I got friends with that issue. They don't know what to do. I mean, it's a bad thing. So, I'm happy to be able to put my talent and Gordon's talent, the other guys, of doing something positive instead of doing something for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about, wouldn't you say, Gordon?
Absolutely. And going back to what you're saying, I mean, I grew up outside of Baltimore. I'm close to Baltimore now. You want to talk about an epidemic, go to Baltimore.
Yeah, here in Kentucky, where I live at in the eastern part, I mean, it went from marijuana, which, I know a lot of people who does it, and that's fine if they want to do that. That's, medically wise, they're doing that now. But it just seems like there's a skyrocketed of meth around here, and it just makes me angry. It really makes me angry on you choosing yourself over your children over the drugs. My children would be my number one priority over a freaking drug. Honestly, that would be my time to say I give.
Absolutely.
I'll get off my soapbox before I start to cry.
No worries, man. But we're before we move on, we're sorry to hear about all that on your side, and hopefully that our video will give you some comfort and some hope,
That's for
sure. Others as well,
So what's impressed you guys the most about making the new album, Soulrise? What's caught your guys' eye about it, if anything possibly? What stands out more for both of you guys on this album?
For me, personally, this is Steve, is really the songwriting and the hooks. Gordon is very masterful at making guitar riffs a little bit different, and it just has a little bit different of a sound. You can't put your finger on it. And so I'm really proud of that point where it doesn't sound like mainstream, it all has some unique value to it. And I'm proud of how long it took us to build this and make this what it needs to be. You know, we went through a lot of time, a lot of struggles, a lot of roadblocks that Gordon will get a little deeper on here, that really try to pull us off track and not have this thing come out. You know what I mean? But it was constant issues and struggles, but we overcame all of them. And, you know, I'm really proud of the fact that we pulled through all that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as my my particular thoughts, this is the fourth Images album. You know, I've done albums outside of Images, so as Steve, we've done a collective album together before this album, but of all the releases that I've ever done, nothing can even remotely compare to this when it comes to how it was done, how it was written, recorded, mixed, and even what we all had to collectively go through to get there. I mean, writing an album's one thing, but with this one, it just seemed like from the very beginning of writing this thing, something was extremely different. I mean, there was, you know, to put it very bluntly, sort of a grocery list of supernatural phenomena that happened during the writing of this. I mean, and extremely positive and extremely negative, even to some things that if I told you the stories, you'd probably think I was a little whacked out. So we'll leave those for down the road, but let's just put it this way. We did have a lot of roadblocks, but we also had what I would call a lot of help. It almost felt like it was sort of a nudge or a sort of help from above, for lack of a better word. The songwriting process was much more intense this time. I mean, it got to the point where it's like every single song at some point, I just sort of felt something a little bit beyond just the feeling of writing the song. I mean, I got really emotional when writing a lot of these songs, when tracking the vocals to these songs. I mean, I had a box of Kleenexes with me in my vocal booth just because it was, I mean, these were the most heartfelt songs I've ever written. And I could say, honestly, I know myself and Steve, we went through a little bit of a transformation during this whole thing. We watched every puzzle piece just sort of miraculously fall together, from finding the right players, from
finding the correct producer to produce this record for us.
Yep, the video shoot, things that so many stars had to line up because we all live in different cities, and we have more or less been defying the odds through this whole thing. So I guess when I try to say what kind of grabs me most, all I can say is this is a whole different animal from anything I've ever done before.
Absolutely. And very proud of it, by the way.
Yeah.
Very unorthodox. The whole thing, we use that word a lot. It's unorthodox the way this whole thing was put together, how we did it, you know, but hey, it's all working, it's all good, you know.
It's like I've always said, you know, if you have good karma with people and you do the right stuff, when good versus evil, it always goes in, it always works itself out. Regardless if there's an evil obstacle there, it always works itself out. So maybe that's what was going on with you guys during this album.
It could have been. Could have been.
Absolutely.
So this album was mixed and mastered by legendary producer Bill Metoyer. Metoyer. How was working with him on this, guys?
Oh, this guy is great. Bill and I have known each other back from, oh my gosh, like 1992 when I was really young. Not to give away my age, but we did an album back then. And he was legendary back then, of course, working with all the big bands and got a lot of big bands that are huge today started. But anyway, he's so cool, laid back, easygoing, really nice guy. He's a sweetheart of a guy, but he's very hardworking and technical when it comes to doing his board work, you know. So we knew all about him just because I worked with him before. But this, of course, his history in music business, you know, he's labeled as one of the best in metal. And we knew this album was so special, and, you know, the songwriting and all how this whole thing came together, we had to top it off the right way and get the right guy to put this together for us. So we did hire Bill, and it was just a joy working with him. He was a big factor in us actually getting signed to Pavement as well, just because he knows everybody, you know. So anyhow, it was just a real honor and pleasure to work with him, and you know, that's all I can say, Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, he created he produced my favorite album of all time, Fate's Warning's Awaken the Guardian, And I've been trying to get Bill's attention for 25 years unsuccessfully, and here he is mixing and mastering our album. So that says it all.
Speaking of Pavement Entertainment, guys, how's it been working with this group?
I've worked with multiple labels. I got to tell you, these guys are out of this world, totally exceeding our expectations. I mean, our primary contact is Tim King. He is one of the most responsive, thorough, detailed-oriented contacts that we could have ever asked for. And, not just that. I mean, they've got a whole team of people who we're working with. We've got a PR contact, a radio contact, multiple contacts, for everything. And everybody knows what they need to do. All the puzzle pieces are perfectly carved and put together. And, owner Mark Noir is awesome too. So, I mean, it's just been really exceptional to say the least.
Yeah, Mark and Tim are great over there, and they have been from the very beginning. They believed in us, and they backed us, and, they liked our demo, which was awesome. And so, they brought us on, and we're very grateful for that. But they have been nothing but professional, putting us at the top of the list and really, really getting after it and giving this record a real fair shot. So we're very pleased with Pavement, very pleased. Yeah. Out of all the shopping we did with the labels, this was the best place for us to land right here, absolutely.
It was almost, I mean, we had so many labels that we were looking at, but this was the best one for our sound, for what we wanted to do, for our target audience. It just couldn't have worked out better.
Absolutely.
Folks, Tim King, who they're talking about, is the bassist from the Mighty Soil. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you need you better believe it. If you don't like, well, I'm not going to chastise you if you don't like Soil, but if you're a metal guy and you can't get up to Soil, then there's something wrong with you badly.
Yeah.
Yep. I was turned on to Soil 10 years ago by a friend of mine. He said, "You got to hear this band," and I heard the song "Unreal," and that's it, man. It was like just hooked, and listened to them for a while after that. Great band, really heavy.
Especially Halo, when you hear that drum kick in at the beginning of that song, it's like, where are you?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I just recently heard the song "Shine On," and you just want to turn it up until it's just you start to hurt.
Yeah, Tim's got a big job. He juggles a lot of things, from being in his band to doing all the A&R work at the label, and man, I mean, he does a lot. So I have a lot of respect for that guy.
Need to Feel is my favorite song by that band.
Gotcha.
God, it's just the work of that song. I just can't explain it. It just the breakdowns, the drum beat, the way it is, the way it just like kind of hits and goes. It's just perfect in my eyes.
But you can't go wrong with the Scars album.
No.
Any song, really.
No, exactly. I totally agree with you, man. I want to get back talking to Mr. Bill Matoyer that you guys were with. How hard did he push you guys in the recording studio? Did he let you guys do your thing and just say, no, let's try this? Did he push? How far did he push you guys?
Well, the unique thing we did, and kind of unorthodox, I'll go back to that word, that we did on this record is we all recorded ourselves. So Bill wasn't involved when we actually laid our tracks, okay? However, as tedious as each one of us are, we put ourselves through the ringer during the recording process. I mean, and we took, I'll say we took 1.5 years to make sure we tracked this thing right, okay? So we took a lot of time and a lot of care because this album was the one for us. So Bill wasn't involved until after we recorded all of our tracks, and honestly, all of our guys recorded the tracks, and we went into the studio to record them. That's the first time we all slapped hands in the same room as band members. So we didn't even see each other before we recorded this record.
That's cool,
though. Kind of wild, huh?
That's the power of the internet.
Yeah, I think you meant to say the first time we actually saw each other was when we filmed Shield Me.
Mm-hmm.
The album was basically, the mix was being wrapped up by Bill when we were filming. And, first time, I've ever, met Carlos and Eric. First time you ever met Carlos and Dean.
Uh-huh.
But, as far as Bill, like what Steve was saying, we did put ourselves through the ringer. We made sure that every little cough and every little note, whatever, was exactly how we wanted it. Then what we did was we sent Bill all the tracks and kind of gave him some rough mixes and just some notes as to what we were looking for, and then kind of let him do his thing. Then obviously, just like any mix, it takes a little while to kind of dial in the actual first song to get the actual meat and the balls and chunk, as it were. But once we got that first song dialed in and the settings were right on, then he basically just applied the settings across the board, tweaked as needed, and then what happened was after we shot the video for Shield Me last Halloween weekend, 2017, the rest of the guys went home. Steve and I drove out to Hollywood, and we spent 3 days in the studio with Bill, just kind of putting the final touches on there. You know, you can only do about 85% remotely, but you kind of have to be in the room when you finish up the mix and the master, because these little tweak things that you can that you really kind of need to be there for, and that's essentially what happened. And we were kind of hoping that Bill was going to like it enough to want to help us out, and that was we were both pleasantly surprised at his reply. So, like I said, another situation where it couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, he really dug the album as he was working on it. So, of course, he gave us a little nudge out there, which really helped get us in front of someone, you know, who actually listened. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that all came together. So, great.
The album's artwork is really nice. Who did the artwork, and was it pretty easy to come up with? Because I like to give a little shout-out to the artists on this, guys.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you know, for the longest time, well, we actually had a separate album cover for the longest time, but it just kept biting at me. I was like, you know, this really does not work with what we are doing. It was nice, and the guy who did it did a good job.
Yeah, this whole album cover came from a dream that Gordon had, actually, in his head.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I actually saw it in my head. I was actually on the toilet when I saw it. Oh. That's when things happen.
You do dream on the toilet, though.
I do. I spend a lot of time in there.
All right.
But I saw this thing in my head, and I was just like, okay, great, I got to do that. And then what I did was I took a couple of hours and sketched it out, you know, even with like colored pencil and everything. I just did an overall sketch as to what I saw in my head, sent it to Steve, and we were both like, that's it, this is the album cover. So what we did, sent it to an amazing artist, Jan Erland.
You have to spell out the last name. We can't pronounce it.
Yeah, I think it's pronounced Jan Erland. If he's listening to this, tell us if we butchered it, but he's at darkgrove.net. I actually worked on a CD with a friend of mine who's a guitar virtuoso several years back, and Jan did his album cover, so I said, oh, man, this guy's really good. Sent the sketch to Jan and just gave him a couple of bullet points of what it needed to have, and, you know, he turned it around, and when he sent that thing back, I mean, both of our jaws just hit the floor.
Yeah, he nailed it.
Nailed it.
That's awesome. It must have been a very, very long toilet time. So.
Well, you know, I wasn't on the toilet for the whole drawing, but I was on the toilet for the vision. So
yeah. The vision just stuck in his head afterwards. That's all.
Showers, toilets. That's when things hit you. You know, keep a guitar in there. Honestly,
you got to keep a notepad in every room of the house.
Well, it's funny. I've got my phone, and I'm always texting my email. You know, I could be anywhere. Oh, I got some song lyrics that pour out. Oh, you know, or here's a good progression. I got to make a note.
Oh my God! Later. I call and leave myself voicemails at home.
Yeah, I do that too. Yep.
We're anal.
Oh man, wash your hands for an hour and a half.
Now we talked about the song "Shield Me," but are there any songs off this album that stand out more to you guys on it, if possible? I mean, yeah, these are like picking your favorite children, but are there any that stick out possibly?
You know, It's hard to say, huh, Gordon?
You know, it is. It's kind of like. Here's what I'd say. Every song just about on this album is more personal to me than pretty much anything I've ever written, with minor exceptions. So really I'm trying to pick what of these songs that have really just spoken to me spoke to me more.
Every song can be a favorite, you know. I mean, it's written that way, you know. So, but
I could tell you this: the two songs that really grabbed me, where I had the biggest quote experiences writing, were Twice Upon a Time and Then There Was One. You know, like, without going into too much detail, just because everybody has sort of a varying level of belief in the supernatural, so I'm going to leave that alone. But some stuff happened during the writing of both of these songs that were pretty life-changing. And
well, those are two good songs.
Anytime I listen to the end of you know, either one of these songs, it's just kind of, I get that teary-eyed hair stand up all over thing. And another thing, I don't like to go into too much detail about what they're about, because then the listener knows. I'd rather the listener just kind of understand or take it for what it's worth and apply the lyrics to their own lives. They're written in such a way that they're not specific enough that you know the incident that inspired it, but they're specific enough that you know the emotion, that you can take it back to a point in your life where you can really relate to it. Mm-hmm. So I'll just leave that.
No, I totally get it. Totally get that part.
And yours, Steve, I'm sorry.
You know, what really, rings a bell inside of me, no pun intended, because I'm a drummer and I love the bell, but is Once We Believed off our new record. And if I can urge anybody to listen to a song on that when you're feeling in the right mood, listen to that one. And I like Godless. It's, the message is all there. You'll understand when you hear it.
How much growth musically, guys, have you seen yourself and this band go through from album to album? Or has it just been more of a personal growth for each of you on these albums?
I'm the only original member. I started this with a specific vision back in 2001. Every album has had an almost completely different lineup. It's just sort of circumstances. But once it came time to write and record this album, we put together what we know to be the final the capital T, H, and E, the lineup. And I would say I've grown more during the writing and recording of this album than I have collectively since I started writing music.
And I can say for me, since I've been with Gordon since the beginning of 2014, I have grown tremendously as a person, as a man, as a drummer, as a bandmate, and my faith also. I've grown a lot, and it all ties together into one big thing, you know what I mean? So I'm really proud of that. Actually.
Do you guys do anything differently during the writing and recording process, to help you guys keep your mind fresh and open, to not go down a path that you went down before and said, I don't like this? Is there anything that you guys do to help prevent that possibly?
Yeah, very simple. I don't sit there and say, okay, I'm going to write a song today. What should we do? What I do is I just go, any time in life, something will smack me in the face, whether it is lyrics, whether it's a concept, whether I hear sort of an overall arrangement in my head, and it can happen all throughout the day, any day, 7 days a week, in random times. And anytime that happens, I stop what I'm doing, and I text myself the information, or I send myself an email with a lot of detail. So what I've done, and all the lyrics are written basically first, when it comes time to actually record or track the demos, I already have a very clear vision of mine in my head exactly how the song's going to go. So what I'll do is all the pre-production, all the thoughts, all the arrangements get done randomly just throughout life. But then, I'll say, okay, I know this tomorrow I'm going to get this particular song kind of laid out. What I'll do is fire up my recording app, and I'm looking at the lyrics, and I'm looking at the arrangement notes that I've made, and I just start playing what I heard and what I'm feeling, and I just sort of let it go. It's almost kind of like I take it off, I let it go on autopilot and don't think. I know it's right because it feels complete. I know it's right because I am emotionally, I feel it. And like I said, in every single one of these songs at some point in time, every hair on my body has stood up, and I'm either at least getting teary-eyed or to the point of completely just sobbing just because of the emotion that I'm feeling because of either what the song's about, how it's going, or whatever. But just, it's like I get in this zone and it just happens. I stop if I don't feel like it's on autopilot. I know that, okay, if I'm sitting down and I just kind of hit a roadblock, I say, okay, it's not going to happen today, and I just shut everything down, and then that's it. So there's never an issue with trying to force something.
What can fans expect at a show from Images of Eden who have not got to see you guys live as of yet?
They're going to see an exciting show that they're not going to forget. We're just a little bit different of a dog up there, just a little bit, okay? Our sound is one thing, but our energy and our fan interaction is great, and we want everybody to have a good time. We involve the crowd into our show. Well, Gordon's up there singing to them. He's giving them a great message, a positive message, and we're putting it into metal music. So It's a great combination, in my opinion. We put on an energetic show that we move around a lot, and we just have a great time. Our songs kind of dictate that as well. They're great songs, especially for live. Anyway, so it's Gordon, can you add anything to that?
Yeah, we have our second video coming out here in a couple of weeks. It's a song called Harvest Day, and it's studio audio, but it's live footage. So you're really going to see what we bring live. And what I always tell people, I say, I'm a big fan of Bruce Dickinson and moving as much as possible. I tell people, I say, if I don't need heart paddles at the end of the show, I really did a disservice to the audience.
Guys, do you like the digital era of recording albums to get music out quicker, and plus social media to reach out to more fans that may not get to hear you guys possibly? Do you like this that we're living in right now to get stuff
Maybe
out quicker?
Maybe for some of those reasons I would say no, but for speedy processes of recording and stuff like that, no. For more flexibility of being able to record like we did this record, yes, I like that. For using it as a crutch and not being able to pull it off live, no, I don't like that. So there's a lot of different ways this thing can steer. And then the other part of that is selling your music. I sure miss the hard copy days, but it's just the age we live in. It's a digital world out there. Everybody has a computer. Everybody has a phone. No one's going to bring a stack of CDs on their trip to play their favorite songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the age we live in. But that's okay. I mean, you can still do well off that as long as there's good fan support out there doing it the right way. So go ahead, Gordon.
I was going to say it's a love-hate thing for me. I love the fact that we have the technology, because we would never have been able to do this album without this technology. I mean, our guitarist lives in Chihuahua, Mexico. Steve's in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm in York, Pennsylvania. Dean's in Baltimore, Maryland. And Eric is in Traverse City, Michigan. And these are the five. This lineup is the best lineup we've ever had. This wouldn't have happened pre-digital era. So, and as far as the quality of album that we did, like I said, I don't think it would quite have been the same back in the day. So in that sense, I love it. But in the sense of, the internet age has just slaughtered your careers for musicians. So you can't become what you used to be able to become, and you can't make a living with it nearly as easy as you used to. And, so many things have been devalued. So for that way, it's kind of like, that's sort of the hate part, I guess, in the love-hate situation.
Never be a gold record again.
What made you guys want to become a musician? What was that spark for each of you, possibly?
For me, it just was a natural thing, like getting up and pouring a bowl of cereal in the morning. It was just something I wanted to do. I was inspired to do it. Well, and I have to say, too, I had some musicians in my family that I guess when you grow up and you're exposed to that kind of stuff, you kind of take a liking to it. So, yeah, I was exposed at a young age when my cousins, they played music and they toured and traveled around a lot, and I really envied that and used to go watch them play with my parents at a young age. And I think that's what sparked me by seeing that at a young age, going, that's what I want to do. And I was just a natural drummer. That's what I liked, and I was just took off from that.
Me, it's kind of funny. I've listened to music my whole life. I mean, my mom was telling me when I was in the early single digits, like 3 years old and maybe even the end of 2, is when I was old enough to put a record on the turntable, I was listening, and we would spend a lot of time at my grandmom's house, and my uncle had a really good record collection. I'm going to say, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, the Beatles, Aerosmith, all the old great stuff, and I was immediately hooked on that stuff. Got my first stereo. They bought me one for my 4th birthday. The whole family's freaking out. You buy a 4-year-old a stereo? What's the matter with you?
Look what they did.
Like, trust me.
Look what they did.
And I remember when my cousin gave me Kiss Alive 1 at age 5, I said, that's it. This is what I want to do. And you know what? It was funny because what I said back then was, I want to be a singer in a rock band. It wasn't a guitarist. It wasn't anything else. It was a singer. And that never changed, no matter how much, of a, quote, phase family thought I was going through. So, yeah, it's been in the DNA day one.
Yeah, I should have became a singer, though.
No, man, trust me.
I don't know, man. I avoid loading those drums and breaking them down every night. It's just a real joy.
Oh, yeah.
Any show or moment that stands out more than any of you guys being part of Images of Eden? What was it for you guys that said, yeah, this is meant for us to do this?
I'll start with this one. I know Gordon's got one too, and it's probably the same one. We just played with Jeff Tate on his 30-year Mindcrime anniversary tour on Friday night with a packed house, and we did a great job. The crowd was awesome. They really loved us, and that moment up on stage, seeing everybody out there just, going off, it was like, yep, this time last year, this is what we were planning to do. That's awesome.
I will add to that, but that is exactly what I'm thinking. Funny that you told us before we even started this about how the video for Shield Me hit home.
Yeah.
Steve and I have heard a lot, I'll say a lot.
Starting to hear a lot.
A good amount of testimonials about the same thing, about how people were positively affected by it. And one fan even who said, told us, it was my birthday, I saw the video, and I just, like you said, he just kind of collapsed and just started just weeping. And he took his drugs, threw them in the toilet, flushed them, called his brother and said, who worked at a rehab facility, and said, sign me up for rehab. And he's been sober since late May. He came to the show. We heard that testimonial, and Anna Har, who played the girl in the video, just happened to be standing right next to us. So I introduced him to her. And when you hear testimonials from people like that, and people give you testimonials about how something that you've written has positively impacted their lives, I mean, it's an overwhelming thing to hear, because that is the biggest compliment we could ever get. So playing this Jeff Tate show and seeing several key people in the audience who've shared their testimonials with us, and just watching the look on their face as we're singing these songs. And I made a point to look directly at him, and to point directly at him, say, yeah, this is for you, brother. This is for you. This is, I'm saying it to you from the man himself upstairs. That is the most phenomenal experience that I could ever wish for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many people that I open up to about the situation, my little buddy boy, but I just hope that he gets the help that he needs, and this is just an obstacle of growing up, I hate that somebody...
And like I said, if it helps you or it helps him, show him the video and say, look, we talked to these guys. These guys have been there.
Yeah.
These guys, they're giving you their own personal testimony. So this affects everybody. But the thing is, we had to get past that, because there's no way we'd be able to do what we can do by being on the sauce. I heard recordings of myself when I was on the sauce many years ago, and it was just brutal.
Yeah, he's got so much stuff built up inside of him. He don't know what to do, and I just hope that he's one day, he's able to get the help, and he just lets it go.
Well, listen, sometimes when people like that know that, they're not the only ones out there, it kind of helps open them up a little bit. So that's exactly what that video is for, to let them know you're not alone. There's a lot of people that have your pain, buddy, and there is hope, to maybe switch it around. It just takes a little bit of effort, but, you can change somebody's life, and I say this to Gordon all the time, you can change somebody's life in one word or one gesture, doing it for someone. You can honestly do that,
Yeah.
And I'm a true believer of that, and that's what it's for. So hopefully that situation gets better for you, partner.
I do too. I just like to say, as a new fan of your guys' music, thank you so much for your positive music, and thanks for breaking a man down at the age of 38.
Well, I'm going to add your story. I would say I prefer that you were not in this situation.
Yeah.
But considering the fact that you are, and your testimonial to us before we even started this recording is yet again, validation that every single thing that we do is worthwhile. So we want to thank you just as much, if not more, for telling us, for that happening. I don't even know how to put it in words, but I think you understand where I'm going.
Yeah, it's very hard, folks, for me to go through this and have to talk about it. But I would rather talk about it than hold it in and not say nothing at all. So if everybody sees I'm acting weird, this is why. It's
no worries, man.
I hate that anybody has to go through a drug addiction at somebody that they love, and they can't be there to help them 24/7. So he's getting the help that he needs, and I just hope that Lord above pulls him through it, because I sure love him, and everybody else around him loves him too. So
just keep surrounding them with support, and it's definitely possible, buddy.
Yep.
Images of Eden, their new release comes out August 17th. This is their 4th studio album via Pavement Entertainment. Please get out and pick this up. Check out the video Shield Me if you're going through something or you just need something positive in a day to pick you up. Please listen to it. You will not be disappointed. Just open your heart and open your ears and your eyes and just sit back and relax and just go out for a little bit. Let it take you on a journey. Guys, how can people pick this album up? Merchandise, tour dates, tickets, how can they do that?
The best place to go for all the current information is our website at imagesofeden.com. Everything there will have links on it on how to pick up our album, how to buy merchandise. We also have a limited edition vinyl coming out in the fall, and all the tour information and everything will be on there.
By all means, along with that, like us on Facebook, because we're going to keep you up to date with every single thing there too. Even beyond just all that information, but just with news and a little bit of everything. So yeah, between our official website, imagesofeden.com, or Facebook, which is, facebook.com/imagesofeden.
Before I let you guys go, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Sure. Okay.
This is Gordon Tittsworth from Images of Eden, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
This is Steve Dorssom, drummer for Images of Eden, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great, great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Thank you all so much, guys.
Thank you.
Got it. Thanks so much. Appreciate you having us, buddy.